there are three types of learners. There's visual, there's auditory, and there's kinesthetic. And if your teaching doesn't include a little bit of all three, then you may be missing the boat on reaching some people.
Should we dig into brain stuff and learning for a little bit? Dr. Howard Gardner, and he's Harvard University Education Department. Pretty smart guy. And he came up with something called multiple intelligences. Most people who've been to college understand this. They've heard about it, but it sort of got replaced by learning styles. So anyway, so Gardner said everybody has 7 to 10 intelligences, but even he couldn't really tell any particular person how many of the 10 they have. And they're not really finite. There aren't borders. It's not a compartmentalized thing. One kind of goes into the other because you have intrapersonal learning, interpersonal learning. You have environmental learning. You have rhythmical, musical. You have spatial. You have visual, kinesthetic, and verbal, auditory. And I might be leaving one out. So we all kind of have this milieu of different capacities that we have. There was a really interesting article in the Washington Post about how angry he was that people took that and turned it into sort of finite learning styles. So you can't say, it's not fair to say that someone is a visual learner because they are also a kinesthetic learner and they are also an auditory learner and they also have 4 to 8 other capacities. Part of the problem is we get a little too locked into oversimplifying how to teach people, and we don't do enough to support the different kinds of learning for them by challenging them in different ways.
No, I agree. We try to go over our students' heads just to try to show them what we know instead of just making it simple for them. You know, we need to do the KISS method.
So no, it's a good point. And I think, you know, it's interesting because we need to know this stuff, but we don't need to show it off. A really good application is tell when your student is sort of overanalyzing and they've got paralysis by analysis.
Yep.
One thing that I see very common for is people who are very professional. They have a really good analytical ability, but then they bring that to the tennis court and it's not going to work there. All the stuff that you use to look at lines and graphs and spreadsheets and creating lines of systems and all that, it just isn't going to happen. Helping people come to their senses, come to their eyes. So what do you see? What do you feel? And then having our language match up with the things that they're seeing and feeling, then that's a big chunk of the sports learning. But then also, if all of a sudden I start talking like this, now I'm creating a little rhythmical thing, and that might be exactly the thing that gets the kid to listen to me for the first time because I create some rhythm to the situation. And sometimes if we can teach without talking at all, that helps because some people have poor auditory processing. And so their brain's working so hard to interpret the words that their eyes don't even.
Before Martin Blackman was the general manager of player development, he ran an academy in Boca. And one of the things he did in his academy at Boca is he ran what was called the America Team Games. And during the America Team Games, he would run a coaches symposium, and he would have like Bobby Bernstein, and he would have other coaches come in, and he would run a coaches group. And some of the things they would do is talk about what they would do in some of their practice, run through some of their drills and everything. And I never forget, one of the things he said is some of the best practices I've ever ran, I didn't speak hardly at all. And he just, you know, stood there, observed, you know, maybe said a couple words when he needed to. If he can hold his players accountable and they do the things they need to do, sometimes you don't have to speak anything at all.
Because so anybody who spends an awful lot of time with their players, you run the risk of them not listening to you anymore.
Yeah.
I think my most common experience is that anybody who I've coached for more than a year, our communication kind of goes like this. They do the thing that they know they ought not to do, and I go, hey, and they know what that means. Just stop and give that lecture all over again. I wouldn't want to hear that lecture. One of my favorite things from coaching high school is when my team is playing so incredibly well, and I'm just on the sidelines with my arms folded because there's nothing to say, you know? They're just everybody on the team's playing out of their mind. I don't want to go mess that up. And it's a blast. It's really fun to watch your team perform really well and not say a word. Or, you know, maybe you see somebody is kind of slacking off a little bit. You go over and you go, hey, keep your intensity up. Just that simple. Nothing too tough.